Let me make sure I have sound. Looks like I have sound. Let me know if I don't. So I am right off the coast of, well, I'm on the island of Maui, right by the beach. So I am going to be doing a fundraiser, but I'm going to explain a bit more what we're doing once more people come in. I'm here until Saturday. So like I fly out Saturday. So this is probably going to be like the normal-ish streaming time for now, give or take 2 hours. Obviously, I don't want to do it too late for you East Coast guys, but yeah, that's basically it. Anything really different about this stream is that if you're going to try to do super chat or anything like that, please use the donation link instead. That way we can try to raise money. Hello, Mr. Tula. What are you? Well, I'm assuming you meant where are you? I'm on the island of Maui in Hawaii. So I got married here about 2 or 3 years ago, and I've been coming here almost yearly ever since. And this is like my favorite place on earth, so I can touch more a bit on what exactly I'm doing here once we get a few more in. But EH, bro, feeder sets on a deconditioning break, even at 50% pressure. Thoughts. So my main concern is that you wouldn't lose the strength adaptation. Like you would lose it for length, but you won't necessarily lose it for girth. And like it would really depend. Like I think it's okay. I just don't know how effective it would be of a deconditioning break if you don't. Just stop PE cold turkey. Hot sunshine. Imagine someone recognizes you, asks about you, and oh my goodness, I'm a bit sun tired, so give me a second, guys. Imagine someone recognizes you and asks you about PE in public. Well, I did actually have my first run in here with someone who knows me as a BD this week. They kind of set me up. He's a friend of mine, but like, you know, online friendship's a bit different than real world friendship, so it was a bit of a shock for me, but it's happening. Since I don't hide my identity or anything, it's no big deal to me. It's just, please don't make it too awkward. That's all I ask. Okay. Trying to get my chat back up. Okay, so Donkey Teeth, he is a regular on these streams. Has developed a lymph issue probably after using the cock ring with a pump sleeve. Can I continue to do length manuals while I take a break from pumping until this lymph nodule clears up? I brought this issue up a bit before. I now have a large vein on the side of my D, on the bottom side. I'm assuming 1/3 of the way up, so I get edema very easily down there, but now it's a hard nodule. So that is definitely some kind of lymph issue. I would assume it's a lymphocele if it's a hard nodule. This is not really my wheelhouse, but honestly, just take a break for about a month, do the lymphatic massages. You can probably still do manual stretching. The real issue is going to be like any kind of skin irritation. So if you like jerk it too much, it may become an issue long term, but it's going to be more of a nuisance injury than anything else. Like it's not going to set you back, cause insensitivity or anything like that, but it is just annoying and unsightly. I would personally stop using the cock ring after pumping until we develop a bit more resilience to it. So Shadow Garden, hey man, I do interval pumping with pressures up to 8 inches of mercury, 8 to 10 inches of mercury. After pumping, I have enlarged veins on lymph on the right side of the shaft. Is it just below the glands? Okay, so it depends on how long that sticks around. You're going to have inflammation no matter what with pumping. It's part of the game. The issue is if it settles hard and sticks around well after doing your pumping session. So like we're talking 16, 18, 24 hours, you still have like nodules almost, that's when it becomes the issue. I would... Okay, more context. I did a decon break for 1 month, but same issue when I pumped again. I swear I can feel the heartbeat in the vein, or how you say. It goes away after a few minutes. Okay, so what you're telling me is that your dorsal vein is fully expanded and you are doing everything normally. I would not worry about it too much. So what you really want to look out for is if this structure sticks around and is hard. But if you can feel your heartbeat in it, it's probably your dorsal vein or one of the veins that runs along the edges of your cock, essentially. And it's going to be perfectly normal. Like, you should have inflamed veins when you pump because you're just pulling in a lot more blood. Okay, guys, this is a good time to bring this up. So, I am about 10 minutes away from the town of Lahaina. Lahaina was practically destroyed in a wildfire about 14 months ago. So I'm going to be doing a donation live stream fundraiser here. Basically, if you go to the chat, pin chat, there's going to be a link for you to donate there, or you can scan the QR code. It's going to act like how super chats work. So if you do that, you'll get your questions priority answered by me, as well as a little emote on the screen. So if you want to help me try to raise, I think I have the goal set for $100 over the next couple days. Whatever we do raise, I will match. So if it goes over 100, that's awesome. I'll match it. But that's the goal for this stream, is that since I'm here, I'm really focusing on making sure I shop small and trying to help the people of Lahaina and the surrounding communities and, bring awareness to it. But yeah, if you want your questions answered priority, just donate a couple bucks if you can. If you can't, no worries. That's what that's here for. All right, back to chat. Okay, Hitman, damn, I want to join. I'm outside touching grass, getting drunk. Well, I am literally right off the ocean, so I am outside, but I don't even know how to put it. My vulgarity is well hidden by the waves right now. So Donkey Teeth, back to your lymphocyte issue. I'm using a sleeve. I could theory cut the post pump cockring out completely since I've responded like this. I mean, if you're just getting started, any retention stuff's going to be a bit overkill on paper. Like, you really just have to expand your dick once a day and you'll most likely gain. That is just like ensuring results. Rohan, hey BD, thanks for pumping today. Are you supposed to do interval and traditional pumping AM and PM, or interval in the AM and traditional in the PM? So the way I set it up is any feeder set's going to be AM and PM, but you're going to have an actual working session with interval pumpings. I think I said that right. So traditional pumping's your feeder sets, interval pumping's your working sets. So however you can work it into your day, do it. So like if you can only do one feeder set of traditional pumping in the morning and then your full routine at night, that's fine, and so is vice versa. But ideally, you have 2 different feeder sets 4 to 6 hours apart from your routine, and that's going to keep you chronically dilated. Rohan again. Okay, we just did that one. Also, guys, if you haven't checked it out, I'm assuming most of you guys did, look at my most recent video on pumping. It's basically the reset of what I teach for pumping. So it's going to be very useful for even some of you intermediate guys. But on to Kenny. Hope you're having a nice vacation. I am so far. Only issue is I've been up at like 3 a.m. the past couple days because that's my 9 a.m. back home. But, not a huge deal. I've scheduled a week off coming this week. Should I still do a feeder set at 70% with retention? I would skip the feeder sets for the first couple days just to get rid of any cumulative fatigue. The retention So like if you're using like an all-day stretcher, probably fine. Um, Erect with a cock ring, also probably fine, but you don't need to pump and then put on a cock ring. You know, L looking small, brother. Thank you. This is what I noticed is that since I finally had time to like physically relax and honestly eat a lot more carbs, I probably put on like 5 to 10 pounds of just water since I got here because I can finally like chill a bit. So a lot of this trip has taught me that I just need to take time to relax either throughout the week or daily, and I'm gonna have to figure that out. But like, I'm getting more frequent erections. My erections are just fucking massive. So there's nothing wrong with my lifestyle back home that I need to address because like obviously I'm on vacation, I should be enjoying myself, but like there's something, it's showing that there's something missing to my current lifestyle that I need to add. Okay. Tula, in my routine I do 30 minutes of interval extending with the apex, 5 minutes sets, and then 2 minutes of interval pumping, I assume, at 7 inches of mercury, then 5 minutes of soft clamping. I mean, it sounds good enough. I would just the soft clamping is probably not overly effective as is. I would bump that up to 10 minutes if I was you. Let's see. BD, I have an important question. I've finally been gaining using an extender as far as flaccid gains, but no erect gains. My bone press stretch flaccid is 8 inches, but my BPEL is 7.3. There's no reason to be stressed out about it. That's a 10% delta. I wouldn't say it's crazy. Like I've seen people that were able to stretch over an inch. Like when I'm really deep into PE, like I will have a stretch flaccid of like 9 3/4. Okay. But my actual flaccid or my actual rec size was like 8 3/4 at that time. So it's not that huge of a deal. It just shows that either your tissues are overly fatigued or you have a lot of room to pack in blood holding tissue. So all you'd really have to do is like switch to a girth based routine, particularly one with a bit more like hypoxic clamping to fill in that tissue. But it's not something to be really stressed about if you have normal erections and everything else. And I gotta keep slowly moving my equipment out of the sun here. Vibing Alex, after 90 days of straight PE routines, I am doing a 1 week decon. I would technically call that a deload, but I know what you're saying. I pumped and worn ADS before and after the break. I'll change to vacuum hanging, interval pumping. How often do you recommend decons? So we have deloads that are going to be about a week long, and then we're going to have deconditioning breaks that are going to be about a month long. And deloads are going to get rid of any cumulative fatigue, but still allow you to gain pretty easily. This is designed to like refresh the tissue so you can continuously stretch and see progress that way. And then deconditioning breaks are going to have you lose the strength adaptations that you potentially put on. So every like 6 to 8 weeks, take a week off. And then every, we'll say 12 to 18 months, potentially even 2 years, take a month off. And that's going to keep your tissues nice and fresh. And you should constantly see gains. Uh, Thanks, bro. You're a PE guru. I mean, I try. I wouldn't necessarily call myself a guru because that has more like a, I wouldn't say a negative connotation, but when you're trying to be science based, it's not necessarily accurate to call me a guru. I wouldn't even say I'm that science based, but like it has a different connotation, especially when you are trying to bring this into more of a serious aspect than fringe. But thank you for the compliment nonetheless. Oh, we did get a few donations. Thank you guys. Let me see who did that. Kenny and Shadow, thank you. So I have my chat up blocking it. I really do appreciate it, guys. So the guys that probably just joined the stream, we are doing donations to the People's Fund of Maui. Essentially, they are helping anyone that lost their homes in the Lahaina wildfires 14 months ago. a town that did just burn down Lahaina is about 10 minutes that way from me. So I spent a lot of time there. It's one of my favorite places in the world, and I was absolutely devastated to see that. Additionally, one of my new friends is from Lahaina. So, like, it's pretty close and personal to me, even though I live 4,000 miles away. But anyway, if you guys want to help me out, I'm going to be matching whatever donations you do over the next week and help with the people of Lahaina and their lost possessions and everything else and help them get back on their feet. All right, back to PE. I know this is a really weird stream to be doing a fundraiser with, but Waking Dream, hello. Wario Nuts, hey BD, I love your content. I've had great games pumping, but I can't last as long like I used to. I feel like this is because essentially I have to edge to stay hard when I pump. So like if you're doing interval pumping, you won't really need to edge. I don't edge at all anymore when pumping. You don't really even need to stay erect between the sets. So like if you're doing traditional pumping, you don't even have to worry about it. But let me think. I would not even like edging's nice, but I think it was one of the most overrated things to add to PE because all you're really doing is stressing out your pelvic floor, and that's going to limit how much expansion you can get long term because the weaker or more fatigued your pelvic floor is, the less blood flow you're going to have to your genitals after the fact. So like honestly, edging for more than like 20 minutes is going to be a bit overkill in general. How is the project going? So I'm assuming you mean the gainathon. The gainathon has been only going for about 2 weeks now. People are seeing improvements. We're dialing in the routines. The hard part is just trying to keep track of everyone, and this is why I don't fucking coach anymore. Because like I have 4 to 5 people, right? I have my 4 actual people in my hard gainer. He is keeping base and he's in that chat as well. So like I have 5 people I gotta track. The more people I track, the less time I can give to someone else, right? And it's a scaling issue. I had to explain this to Red today that like coaching does not work at a scale that I could potentially do. And with everything else I have going on, it doesn't make sense. So anyway, the gainathon is going pretty well so far. People are seeing improvements, but like, you know, it's only been 2 weeks with the new routines. It's going to be hard to assess how effective they are, especially like in the first 2 weeks. We'll have a good idea when we do the first video. I might push back the frequency to every 6 weeks for the video because that's going to give us more time to actually accrue results. Okay. I think you misunderstood the video, and this was a bit of an issue with said video. So when you're resting in the tube while doing 5 sets of 2 minutes, it's okay if you get flaccid. So there's no rest in interval pumping. Every 10 minutes, you take about 2 minutes off, get erect to go back in the tube. But like, since we're pumping up so frequently, it's not going to be that crazy, right? So like, we're not going to get a crazy amount of edema. We're going to automatically refill the tissues before they have a chance to retract, and that's when edema happens, when you get flaccid. But since we're pumping up and since we're already kind of expanded, just not fully inflated, when we inflate again, we're going to pull in all the blood while mimicking edema. Where is my button? There we go. L, can high tension extender fatigue the pelvic floor like 10 pounds and up? So pelvic floor fatigue more so comes from chronic kegling. So that would be like exercises like pumping potentially clamping. Anything that requires you to be erect for a long period of time will put strain on the pelvic floor. The only way you can really do damage to the pelvic floor is by wearing the extender straight up or with insane amount of tension. 10 pounds isn't really that a lot of tension, but once you move the extender upwards, that's when it can like basically put too much torque on the pelvic floor and pull it out of place. So while it's not going to be like fatiguing the pelvic floor, you can strain the pelvic floor if you're not careful with uh, not pumping, with high tension extending, or extenders in general. That upwards angle is not very safe. So I did bring my PE stuff for this trip. I didn't get today. I didn't get yesterday. I'm probably not going to get today. But like I'm still trying to do it because like, I have the whole condo to myself and my wife, so it's not like I have to worry about housekeeping or anything. Normally I don't recommend bringing your whole stuff on vacation, but like this is my livelihood. I'm going to do it anyway. I have noticed, like, again, this goes back to my talk about relaxation and everything else. Getting in a relaxed state helps so much with PE. Like, I'm expanding more, I'm elongating more, and that fluffiness and expansion and swelling sticks around a lot longer. So, if you guys are stressed the fuck out, it's more than likely hurting PE in some regard. I need to do a little bit more, like, research on it. But I feel like there's going to be a lot of untapped stuff, like potential, with just getting into a relaxed state with PE and like men's health in general. Ugh. I don't know who Mantwalk Chia said or is, but he's recommend doing at least 300 kegels a day. I think doing that with PE is terrible. My EQ has gone way down. So 300 kegels a day is a bit ridiculous. When I was actually practicing kegels, it would be for like at most maybe 100 repetitions spread out throughout the day. So like it'd be like 3 sets to failure in the morning, 3 sets to failure at night, and that would be roughly about 100 sets. And it's not even so much about the flexing as it is the ability to hold the flex. So like if you're trying to do ejaculation control, it's only going to be like 10-second hold is like the rule for being able to control your orgasms. So I would not recommend doing 300 a day. That seems way overkill. You really just want to be doing enough work to strengthen the muscle and being able to hold the flex. And that's going to lead to better erection quality as well as ejaculation delay. So guys, the way this works is you ask me the questions, and as they come in, I will do that. So the stream quality is mostly on you guys for asking good questions. So keep them coming. Daniel Levy, will a cock ring during sex affect you later on without it? Will a cock ring during sex affect you later on without it? No. I would, like, if you're talking about gains, that's going to be a form of retention, right? So, like, you're going to have your biggest erection possible for an extended period of time. That's retention in a nutshell. If your partner is into it, go for it. But, like, you might get, like, a bit of a mental dependence of using a cock ring while having sex. And it's going to be, like, weird for you not to use it. It's going to be kind of like training wheels. So don't use it too often. So what should I do now to get it back to normal? So talking about Kegels and tired pelvic floor, any tired muscle just needs rest. So stop Kegeling for 3 days. It should probably go back to normal. If you have like chronic tightness, go to my shorts, look at the deep squat or Hindu squat and the frog pose or prayer pose. That's going to have the best relaxation effect on the pelvic floor, and it's going to open up those muscles so that way blood can flow normally again. Sorry, I am just checking my phone. But yeah, guys, like, I really can't stress enough to you. Like, I'm beating the dead horse because we have time to kill at the moment, but like, if you can't relax, it's going to limit everything recovery-wise. So I wouldn't say like I was physically tired all the time, but like mentally I was constantly going. And since I never got a break from that, that had a downstream channel on everything else. So like my muscles weren't as full because like I was slightly stressed, and that sends out a different response to the muscles. And then like literally my dick has gotten bigger just because I'm relaxed here. So if you can't control your stress, it is almost an uphill battle with everything else. So obviously I can't just bring the beach back with me, but I can bring back certain aspects of like my mood and um my mood and like habits here back home, and hopefully that'll translate to something else. I will get to you in 1 second, Justin. Okay, Justin, look. I had a huge injury where I kept I had a huge injury where I kept pumping even though I was already fatigued. Now I have a lot of pain and bruising all over. What should I do? Um, First and foremost, rest. Like healing is a function of time. So stop doing PE for at least 2 weeks. The bruising will dissipate. The pain will dissipate. If you don't have any pelvic floor like dysfunction from this, you probably dodged a bullet. I can almost guarantee you some kind of discoloration, but again, that's treatable, not really a long-term issue. Your main thing is not freaking out right now. And again, counterintuitive because your dick's all black and blue, but like your dick and mind are so connected that if you freak out about your dick, it's going to cause erectile dysfunction. So relax. You dodged a bullet. If you can get erect, you are going to be 100% okay. Anything that you did do, completely reversible. Nacho Macho, can you reshape the collagen from being a grower to a shower of extending and a heating pad? Um, yes. So what happens with collagen and growers is that they typically have more elastin to collagen ratio. So like a shower is going to have less elastin compared to how much collagen they have. Therefore, they can't pull it as tight. They're going to basically be like the elastic bands in spandex that pull it tight. And then once you put on said spandex, it stretches out. Showers have less spandex or elastin in them. When you do PE, you're going to make a lot more collagen than you are elastin because elastin doesn't really break down. So the more collagen you build up, you change that ratio, which will slowly over time make you more of a shower. Now, it really depends on how much PE you've done and how much of a grower you were before. I was a bit of a shower to start. My flaccid was probably about 4 inches. I'm pushing 6.5, 7 now. So the delta between my erect size and flaccid size is actually pretty similar. Since I was about 4 inches, it was 6, and then we're now about 6.5, 9. So there's going to be a bit of relationship to how big you were to start, but like the more PE you do, the more of a shower you're going to be, regardless if it's with an extender or with a heating pad. Tula, can you tell me with the routine? I told you how long it will take me to gain 3/4 of an inch to an inch in length and 1/2 an inch in girth. I could not tell you that. It is a very personal thing, to be honest. So like it would be like trying to tell someone how long is it going to take them to gain 15 pounds of muscle when I don't know if you're going to be a super freaking responder or not, or if your diet's right or you're sleeping right or everything else. It's not that PE is a crapshoot, but I can't really make promises like that. For an inch in length, it's going to take you about a year, and for about an inch in girth, it's going to take about a year. So you could potentially gain both at the same time in your first year. I have, Pink has, I just don't know if you're going to do it, because me and him are both probably above average responders, if we're being completely honest. Daniel Levy, stress destroys my EQ. PE has a mental element for sure. Yeah, I really need to just look into it more, try to figure it out. Like Pink had that live stream with the sex therapist. I probably should just pick her brain for a bit and try to get a few more answers about it. But so I've been doing hanging 8 sets, 5 pounds for 5 minute sets. It can be a little tedious to reapply the weight 8 times. Can I cut it in half and do like 4 sets of 10 minutes? So the idea behind it is that the more often you load and unload weight, the more fatigue you generate. So all you really have to do instead of taking off the weight is pick it up for 10 seconds and then let it loose. You don't have to reattach any weight, just pick it up for a bit and drop it. It's going to be the same thing. If that's too much work for you, you can do 4 10-minute sets. It's just going to be less effective on paper than it would be with something else. And I'm trying to keep my equipment in the sun or out of the sun. Michael, sorry if this has already been asked, but how should it feel post-workout? Depends what you're doing. When I do length work without any pumping right afterwards, it is insanely rubbery and floppy. Like, it completely changes consistency. It's very bouncy. And then it doesn't retract right away. If you have any retraction right away, you probably did too much work. Then with pumping, obviously you just want to be insanely thick compared to normal. Not like bloated, but just dense is a good way to put it. Like my erections after pumping are insanely dense. The skin should have some vascularity and it should be pretty warm because you just kept pulling in more and more blood. Justin, who destroyed his dick apparently. I don't have pelvic floor issues. I can get erection, but I feel a sharp nerve-like pain all over, including the CC and CS. I have set up an appointment. So, like, if you just hurt yourself, it's going to be a bit painful. I never did what you did, but, like, in general, you sprain your ankle, it's sore when you put pressure on it, right? Why would your dick be any different? So, like, take it slow. The next week or two is going to be pretty rough, but the fact that you still have function shows me that you didn't do any long-term damage. The key now is focusing on recovery. So if you really want to get technical, and this might be a bit painful because you'll have more frequent erections, you could try taking some Cialis, and that's going to lead to more blood flow, which is going to help with recovery. You could try taking L-citrulline, same idea. But the most part, it just needs rest. And then a week or two now, maybe some pelvic floor stretching, because, you know, if you're sitting stagnant, it's going to get a bit tight. But, you know, just take it day by day. How much length do you think you can gain with a pump? I'm almost 9 inches stretched out in the pump. There has to be a lengthening effect. So, pump size is a little confusing, especially if you're using water, but we're going to act like you're not using water. I personally am like a half an inch to an inch shorter in the pump because it can't make its way down past my pubic bone since I use a wide flame cylinder. If you're using the right cylinder, technically, you're going to be able to expose a lot of length that way. But like when you measure, it's not necessarily going to show on the ruler depending on how your pelvis is shaped, right? But in general, if you can pump up a lot in length with pumping, you either have a very stretchy dick or you have room on the table for a lot of erection quality quickly, and that could gain a lot of length quickly. So if, let's say, it's like a inch delta, so let's say you're 8 inches erect before pumping, and then while in the tube you're about 9 inches, you probably need to add in some kind of hypoxic clamping to help build up the blood holding tissue in the corpus cavernosum. But in general, I don't think there's much we can gain from that except for that discrepancy, and that it's your potential size down the line. Nice. What about stretching? Same idea, Michael, for the post feel. It's not going to be nearly as insane with I'm going to have to move this table out of the sunlight. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, that is getting a bit toasty. But where were we at? What about stretching? The main difference is like it's going to be the skin's going to be a bit beat up just by nature, and I'm not sure if I'm actually showing it should be now, but it should be a bit stretchy just by nature, and it should be kind of malleable, especially if you're doing a lot of manual stuff like BFR massage and everything else like that. Okay, so that lady in the video of Pink says that girls don't like giving head. She says that is work. I think that is her opinion. I know ladies that love it. Okay, so let's think about it this way. It is giving someone something. And some people like giving gifts and they get joy out of giving gifts. Oral, in general, is a pretty one-sided affair. If you like giving someone affection, that's going to be rewarding for you. But like, my wife doesn't particularly like giving head, but I'm also relatively big, right? So it's hard for her to give me head long term. But what she does like is my reaction from it. So it's not so much that women don't like giving head, it's more so that they don't receive any physical pleasure. They may receive mental pleasure, but it's not going to be like if you're doing mutual masturbation or something like that. Yeah, waking dream. I get zero length in the pump aside from gland swelling. I just think it's different for everyone, I suppose. Dude, I literally get shorter in the pump as the session goes because I bloat outwards. So like, um, it's going to be a real crapshoot, and it's going to be a lot to do with what kind of tube you're using as well. Okay, but like no soreness. So manual stretching, you might have some soreness at the base and potentially where your skin rubs the skin, but your skin rubs the skin, your hand rubs the skin. But it should not be like anything crazy in the shaft, maybe like 1 out of 10 on the pain scale. Like you can tell that there's some inflammation, but it doesn't hurt really whatsoever. Hey man, did you modify the tunica wash-off shearing? I remember putting the stress on the top of the nerve bundle corpus spongiosum is a bad idea. I did not. So like originally I did it on the top, but like within a week or so I moved it to the sides. I think it's going to be, I don't want to say safe to do it along the top, but like I think the risks are a bit overstated. So like if you did it along the top and you saw results from it, it's probably okay to do it, but you won't see me recommending it to everyone else. Corpus spongiosum, it's more likely it's just not needed because the tissue's so thin and malleable to begin with. Any kind of direct manipulation to it's just not needed. Waking dream, there's erectile tissue in the throat. It can be pleasurable to some women. Well, that's interesting, but I also think that requires a certain length from men. Um, there's also like nerve endings in the lips and everything else too. Like you like making out, right? It's exciting. I just there's no direct translation to like sexual arousal other than if you like looking at a dick, I guess. My on-screen chat is not working. It's because I'm using the browser chat. Apologies. We're working now. So I might take this stream inside. I'm on my laptop, so it won't be that big of a deal. I'm already unplugged, so I might as well do it. I don't think, I think my wife is in the pool or near the pool reading, so we can continue as is. And I can stop sweating on camera. Okay. Oh, that's refreshing. All right. I don't know how to set this up. Look at that quad. All right. So it might just be the shadow of me right now until I figured out how to get the lights working. But and there goes the sun. Okay. Let's try it this way. Okay. Okay. Can you do all your stretches? Sorry, I didn't realize I was staring at my chest. Can you do all your stretches and massages after you pump when you have a cock ring on? I would personally do it all beforehand because like it's going to prime the tunica to expand since it's already weakened, and that way you're going to get much better results from it. Like from pumping, since it's already the tissue's already weakened, therefore you can expand more. Okay, guys, another reminder for anyone that just joined. We are doing a fundraiser for the People's Fund of Maui. So, essentially, I am about 10 minutes away from Lahaina. That town burnt down about 14 months ago due to wildfires. It's one of my favorite places in the world. It'd be great if you guys can donate. I will treat these chats and donations as like super chats, so they will get my immediate attention compared to something else. If you want to help along and help donate, that'd be great. No pressure, though. All right, back to this. Oh, the link is in the pinned message, and you can scan the QR code here, and then you'll get a little badge up here on screen. Anyway, what is the most effective? What would you say the most effective extender is? So practically speaking, they all do the same thing, right? They apply tension to the penis, but a lot of them will only be able to do up to 5 pounds, and there's going to be some of them that are much bigger that can do up to 30 to 45 pounds. My personal preference is Massive Novelty's Apex Extender, but I'm very good friends with the guy that makes it. That being said, it's a very quality device. That's what I would pick. Personally, I just think there's a lot of kind of shady people in PE, and you should put money to businesses that actually care about their consumer and care about the quality of product they're giving. Let's see. I'm hearing running water noises. Anyway, been doing pump for 6 months and maybe gained a half an inch, but it needs to take it to the next level. I can't afford 1,000. Okay, so if you're just trying to gain length, you can get a $20 hanger. I think ours are $20 plus shipping, so it's like $25, $27 at peakmalphysique.com. They are vacuum hangers, so all you do is you hang the weight. You do not need an extender. You just need to be able to apply tension. So even with just manual stretching, you'll gain length as well. Chris, are you ever going to stock back up the liquid for pumping again? Also, I wanted to ask, sodium polyacrylate is in the product dangerous? Somebody said that inhaling it can lead to serious health issues. Well, so that's one of the few issues with it. But sodium polyacrylate is what they put in like diapers. So like it's very absorbent, it's water lock. That is skin safe, but obviously anything that is going to absorb a shit ton of water is not going to be overly safe for your tissues. So I personally have stopped selling it for a few reasons, but that's one of the reasons. We are looking into a seaweed based alternative. So like Nuru massage gel, we're trying to do that, but more or less safer, not safer, less expensive. Nuru massage gel costs like $50 a canister. It's not that expensive. It's just brown algae. So anyway, we're looking into it. We just got to figure out what we want to do with it moving forward. Okay. Well, I notice for me, when I give head to my girl, my D starts pulsing and max out EQ. So, when I give oral, it's usually relatively intense on my neck. Therefore, it's kind of hard for me to be aroused during it. But that being said, it only takes me like 10 to 20 seconds to get back to erect and is off to the races, right? Um, it really just depends on the setup. I get excited when my wife gets excited. So the more excited she is, the more fulfilling sex is for me. I am more of a giver than a taker. So like if she's just not into it, I'm not going to have sex just for my own pleasure. Her pleasure is innately tied to mine. So sex is more complicated than just women don't like giving head. There's going to be a lot to it. It's going to be down from a partner to partner basis. Hey Zode, let's see. Is it normal to feel a bit of fatigue in the corpus cavernosum the day after pumping? I wouldn't necessarily, in the corpus cavernosum, you'll feel fatigue. I'm just getting some water off camera, but it's going to lead to some inflammation, and you're going to feel it a bit in the tunica albuginea a bit more than anything else, because that's where the nerves are. So if you actually ever get, like, say, an injection to your penis, you will only feel pressure right in the tunica albuginea because that's where the nerve endings are. But in the corpus cavernosum, you will not feel the needle. So you will feel something. It just won't necessarily be the corpus cavernosum you'll feel it. Does the angle that you extend matter at all? Not really. The main thing you want to do is avoid going straight up because that's going to put more pressure on the pelvic floor than anything else. Straight down is going to work the ligaments a bit more. And straight out is going to isolate the shaft completely. So it doesn't really matter all that much with an extender in particular. Does the angle you extend that matter? Okay. The LG hanger guy wants 500 for an extender and like 100 for the thing that holds the weight. He's absolutely crazy. $300 for a vacuum pump, and I use yours more. Uh, so I don't want to throw shade, but like I can't stand the guy. He is so full of himself. It drives me nuts. And guys like him are the reason why we sell shit at Peak Physique, because of things like that. Like, for example, the Apex is like what, $200, but like every other extender around it, like the same capabilities, is $100 more at least. So there's a difference between quality and the price to produce, and there's a difference between the product and then just price gouging based off of your own bullshit marketing. But we can talk about that more later. How much stretching per day is too much? Asked Michael. Right now, I have a PM routine, wondering if adding an AM routine of stretching or more throughout the day. So, like, you should do some light stretching throughout the day, regardless, for shape training or retention theory is what I call it, like, formally. If you're doing all your length work in the night, you're probably fine. There's no real reason to add a whole nother session in the morning unless you can't do like 20 minutes total at night and you got to split it up. So like 10 and 10, that's fine. But like if you're trying to do 40 minutes and you just started PE, that's going to be a lot of work. I would personally, if you can, do like light pumping in the morning instead to pull in fresh blood and get some dilation going. That's going to help train the bigger shape. Okay. What is the benefit of the Epsom salt again? So like I haven't looked at the formula in a while, but the Epsom salt is going to change the salinity, right? And like remember basic osmosis from biology? That's going to pull water away from the dick and they're going to lead to more expansion that way on paper. I don't think it's absolutely necessary anymore. Like knowing what I know now, I can make a much better version of the Max D gel. It was a good starting point and it surprisingly sold very well for what it was. But like I really think I could do a lot better job with it. It's just like I it doesn't really match my type of PE. If we're trying to maximize swelling, it's not going to necessarily lead to the best gains. Sure, it might be great for fetish purposes, but like it's not going to be overly effective for regular PE. Uh, you said the corpus spongiosum is very malleable, says Chris. Doesn't that make fulcrums very dangerous? Used to hear a lot of injuries from guys from that exercise. I also talked to a few guys who have limited blood flow to the CS. They all seem to have a history of doing these fulcrum exercises. So I don't really teach fulcrums. I teach semi-erect bends left and right, and that doesn't put any pressure on the corpus spongiosum. So while I don't necessarily think that the lack of blood flow in the corpus spongiosum is from fulcrum stretching. What more accurately happened is that they developed some kind of soft glands, and that's some kind of pelvic floor dysfunction. So if we're trying to avoid that, it's more so overwork than anything else. But like one of the old school rules for PE is that you never bend it downwards. And I don't know if it's because it puts too much pressure on the nerves or anything else like that. But like if you're playing it safe, don't do any bends downwards. Sideways is fine because like it's the corpus cavernosum bending and it's not putting any strain on the penile nerves. Michael, thanks for the answers. Live Q&A is dope. You are welcome. I do try to do these daily. It's just that they're quite early in the day for us Americans, like 2 p.m. Eastern. But now that I'm 6 hours behind my normal time, it's more normal for you guys. What routine would you recommend for length and girth? I have a pumps toe shields for clamping, and the gua sha I have interest in manual. Sorry, I'm a noob. Okay, so don't worry about clamping. It is honestly a very overrated exercise. It's not safe for beginners whatsoever. It is a high pressure event, and you have no acclimation to high pressures in general. So we're only going to do pumping and some kind of length work right now. If you're doing manual stretches, on my most recent videos, there's like a free routine at the bottom. Click the bit link for that, and it's going to take you to either Pornhub or the forum. That's going to be the manual stretches. And then instead of doing the mod jokes, you're going to do 10 minutes of pumping with it. Okay. Rohan, is there any correlation between sauna and red light to PE? Like, it hasn't been studied, so I can't say there's any correlation. Sauna makes the tissues warmer and easier to stretch. Red light therapy, same thing. And there's some minor research that it leads to more collagen production, but that's going to be more so in the skin because it actually has like photosynthetic nerves and such in it to actually like feel the red light, right? I'm not sure if it does anything to tendons and ligaments. If it does, then it'll have some kind of translation to penis enlargement. But as of right now, I don't think it needs to be red light, but any kind of heat in general will help loosen up the tissues. Okay, so Chris C. By limited blood flow, I should have said they've reported their CS not filling up along with their glands. I don't know if that changes your answer. I can't say that my corpus spongiosum is particularly strong either, but like let's think about it this way. It is going to be about 20% of your dick at most, the corpus spongiosum, while the corpus cavernosum is going to be like 70 to 80% depending on how big your glands are. It's not supposed to be particularly big, right? And it's supposed to fill up enough to act like a cushion to the urethra so you can ejaculate. If it is overly full, you're not going to be able to ejaculate, and that's going to cause a whole bunch of slew of different issues. So I don't think it's really an issue that the corpus spongiosum doesn't fill up fully because that's kind of by design. When I put a cock ring on, sure, it'll be like pretty intense, but also my orgasms and my ejaculate, it takes more force to get it out because there's more pressure holding it in. So I don't necessarily think it's that big of a deal. This is not a dumb question, Forrest. What have your total gains since you started, and what gave you the most in length? Okay, so this is a bit of a long-winded answer, but I started at about 6x5 during puberty. Yes, me doing this during puberty probably messed up with my actual results. Over a year, I went to about 7.5 by 5.5, 5 3/4 if you include girth. Uh, I took my wife's virginity essentially then. We've been dating or together for 10 to 11 years at this point. I was a bit too big for her, so I stopped doing PE. Started doing PE in college with the bathmate. Did not see much gains at all, just my base girth grew relatively fast compared to everything else. By 2019, I was still about 7.5 inches long, but my base girth was probably about 6 1/4, while my mid shaft was about 5.5, maybe 5 1/4. Then for the past 5 years, I got up to 8, and then I kept fluctuating between 8 and 9 up until this year, where I finally got over 9 fully. Part of it was that I was measuring like an asshole. Another part of it is that I caught COVID and lost some size that way. And then I got more strict with how I measured because, I started making money off of this. Morals dictated that I needed to be much more strict with my measurements. So right now, I am about 9 1/8, could be a bit longer. Girth, I'm about 6 1/4. Mid shaft, base is 7 inches. So, like, I am quite large. What gained the most length is a crapshoot. I have tried everything. I can tell you now, I gained an inch from manuals. I probably gained an inch from hanging, and I gained an inch from high tension extending. So they all work roughly at the same rate. Extending with high tension is going to be the easiest way to gain because it's a lot less tedious than manuals, and like you have more of the stretch isolated onto the shaft compared to hanging. So that's what I would say gave me the best gains. Okay, so I'm probably only going to stream for about 10 more minutes unless I get a lot of questions. But just keep them coming. I am on vacation though, so I don't want this to take too long. And just a reminder, guys, again, we're doing a fundraiser for the People's Fund of Maui. Again, for the Lahaina wildfires to help people recover from that. The situation is a lot more stable than it was last year, but there's still people struggling. So while I'm here, I want to help them out. Anyway, back to PE. What is the correct way to measure girth? There's a few ways to do it. If you're just comparing to an average, look at the study that they're pulling from and then copy how they're measuring. So a lot of studies will measure at the biggest point. Others will just measure mid shaft. I take both. So I will measure mid shaft, I'll measure base, and that way I can track any shape changes a little bit more accurately that way. But in general, you get erect, you wrap around some Taylor's tape, and then the 0 mark, not at the beginning of the Taylor's tape, the last, a big confusion for some people, is where you measure. So what I'm saying is there's a lot of dead space on Taylor's tape sometimes, and people will say that's their 0, but really their 0 is 1/2 inches up at the 0 mark. So you just got to be a bit careful. Blue dude, when should I move from manuals and start using devices, and what devices? Okay, so you can get a penis pump at any time with no real issues, since you'll be able to completely control the pressure. It's going to be safer and more effective for girth than manuals. As for manual stretches, I like manual stretches because it teaches you tension and you have a lot more granularity on how hard you pull than you say just hanging 2.5 pounds from the weight. It's going to be a lot more forgiving that way. However, after doing manuals for about 20 minutes to a half hour, you can tell it's going to be pretty tedious doing this every day. So whenever you feel comfortable getting a device, get one. I just think long term, you are best off waiting about 2 to 3 months before you get a device, except for a penis pump. You can get that practically anytime. Chris C. So for tunica malleability, you recommend tunica shearing, kinda. erect bends, not erect, semi-erect bends, and bundled stretches. I do not really recommend bundled stretches. My friends do them, and they had good results with it. But my top three are going to be blood flow restricted massage. So you get erect, semi-erect, put a cock ring on, and then massage the sides of the shaft. That's going to loosen up the tissues. Then if we're talking about semi-erect bends, that same idea. Put a cock ring on, 40 to 60% erect, and just bend slightly left and right, going up and down the shaft. And then the other one is tunica shears or diamond jelks. And that's going to be the compression of the motion along the sides. If you haven't caught the theme here, everything we do is manipulating the sides. Yeah. Forest Bears, you did, or Beers, you did ask a question. You're what, 6 inches mid-shaft girth? Do not get the wide boy bath mate. Just get a normal dick pump at Peak Mouth Physique. We sell a 2 1/8 air cylinder. It's going to be like, I think, $70-ish. That's going to be a lot more effective long term than a bath mate wide boy is, and a lot cheaper too. The swaggest was here. How is the Golden Path going? So for the past 2 weeks, it was a bit hard to do PE because I was prepping for this vacation, right? I did try to stick with PE, but I just can't say I was overly effective. So this is going to be a bit of a slower month. But I'm still gaining. I'm definitely over 9. I would say after doing my PE sessions erect, I'm like 9.25 as of last week. So like this week, since I had time to relax and everything else, it could be a little bit bigger. My wife is acting like I am gigantic lately, so I'm going to take her word for it. But I will have probably an update for that at the end of November. I'd just rather have like really good results to show you guys rather than like, hey, I gained an eighth an inch, or, something like that. And what's annoying is that we got more viewers than the entire stream right now. I'm about to sign off. But we'll keep going for a bit. Best device for length. That's my goal for now. I like the Apex extender. It's a bit pricey, but like it is going to be one of the more cost-effective ways to gain length with ease. You can also just do vacuum hanging as well. Crazy gain bands. Good shit. Thank you. I'm just hoping I can get a good picture of it. Okay, Zoe, 9 inches is gigantic. Yeah, I'm quite aware that I'm gigantic. It's just like she's used to it, right? So like any of those minor changes, she doesn't really notice unless they're happening in fast succession, right? So like when I feel big to her, it's usually that I'm growing faster than normal. Eric T. For length focus training, I do 10-minute feeder sets of pumping in the morning and 2-minute interval pumping after length work for about 5 to 10 sets. Okay, so that's okay. I just think doing interval pumping right after length work right now might be a little bit too much fatigue. So what you actually want to do is about 10 minutes of traditional pumping after length work. There's no like real rules to this yet. So like if you're having good results with interval pumping right after length work, keep it. But traditional pumping would be less fatiguing and more of like that dilation effect that you get from feeder sets. And that's what we really want with length training. So I didn't mean to skip you. Do you recommend shape training with cock rings after pumping for beginners? I do. If you checked out my most recent video, I did bring it up. You just gotta be careful. About 5 to 10% of you will have chances of developing lymphatic issues. So keep an eye on it. I would not really go more than 10 minutes after pumping. After having a consistent streak of manuals, I started getting sore at the base when stretching. I feel like I couldn't get the tension I wanted in the stretch. How to get around this? I am at... Wait, that's a different person. So, like, you're feeling tension at the base. That would mean that either your ligament is, like, catching or, like, your nerves are just tight. And when your nerves feel tightness, the rest of the tissues around it kind of tighten up as well. It's kind of like proprioception. So like when you're about to brace for impact, Your nerves will feel it, and then the rest of your muscles tense, but it's not necessarily like a full-on flex, right? Because it's similar to that. So we could try to relax a bit more before PE, but a more effective way is going to change the angle. So like, let's say you've been pulling straight out, let's go straight down for a bit. And we can try that. And then if you're still having issues with that, maybe take 2 weeks off from PE and potentially add a device instead of manual stretches. I'm at 7.25 after a session. How long until I am 7 plus normally, assuming that I'm keeping 4 to 5 days a week? That is, well, with vibration, that's a whole different can of worms. But I would tell you to try to add in some feeder stuff to make your bigger size more common, right? So the bigger you are, the more often you are big, the more likely you are to be big normally. It would depend on what size you are now, right? So like, let's say you're 6.8, you're getting 7.25. It's probably going to be another month or two, but like, there's a good chance, like, it's more so an erection quality issue, why you can't get to like 7.1/8 normally than anything else. All right, guys, we're going to go for about 10 minutes. So, Zoe, pumping morning and night. What about it? So, like, if you're doing feeder sets, that's what I recommend. But again, you got to pair PE to your own desires and schedule. So, like, if you can't do 2 full pumping sessions, AM and PM, just move your normal working sessions to night, for example, and then do PE then, and that's going to count as your inflammation and retention needs for the evening. And then just do a feeder set before work, and then you're good to go. And I just made a big mess of pre-workout powder. What's an example of feeder sets help with length? So this is just something I've noticed, and it's probably, I wouldn't say it's going to be the obvious, most direct translation of length work for PE, right? So, because feeder sets is pumping, and that's not traditionally what we do. But the easiest way to think about it is when we pump, we're getting the biggest size possible erect. So, like, if we're able to be that size twice as often, it's going to lead to twice the chance of that shape change. And then, since we're keeping that dilation and everything else, our flaccid's going to be bigger. We're going to have more pooling of lymph, which carries some nutrients. Therefore, we're going to have better nutrient delivery. And then I've noticed that when I do get erect throughout the day, those erections are bigger on top of that. So, like, while it's probably better for girth, it's going to be really good for length too. Oh my god, that is so sour. I thought there was a lot more water in this, and I put a scoop of Vigor in. Ooh. I don't know how Hank dry scoops this. Oh. Like, wow. 6 7/8 now. So, like, Zoe, you're literally like a week or two away from like good, like a solid 7 straight. Just give it some time. But unless any questions come in the next like minute or so, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Again, thanks for the 2 that have donated to the People's Fund of Maui. We're going to be doing this all week, so hopefully we can hit the goal. Again, I'm going to be matching everything else. But yeah, I will post on YouTube, obviously, when the next one is. And then it's going to be on the Discord. I'm not probably going to post on Reddit because I don't like spamming the live streams on Reddit. Opens it up to trolls. But anyway, is there any way to change the auto pump away from KPA? No, not at this time. If I do get like a custom pump, because this is just something my manufacturer makes, I will try to make sure that there's going to be different modes but like, that's going to add to the cost. Okay. So a weaker set of pressure pumping should suffice. That is exactly what a feeder set is, Chris C. And then JV, thanks for all your work. You are quite welcome. Again, guys, I would not be able to go on vacations like this if it was not for your support. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I just want to help everyone achieve their goals is a good way to put it. So I hope you guys are improving yourself as you want. And I will see you tomorrow, probably around the same time, give or take 2 hours. Most likely take 2 hours. But anyway, have a good evening, fellas.